Hello, do you tow a trailer or an RV? Tired of finding dents or chip paint on the front of your trailer? After searching the internet for a while, trying to find a solution, I discovered that most of the guards offered were starting around $130 and going as high as $300. Well, today I'm going to show you how to build a rock shield using simple tools and parts that can be purchased from your local home improvement store and do it for around $80. Here's what you'll need to build this. 2 pieces of 1 1/4 inch angle iron, one 36 inches long, another 48 inches long. You're also going to need 2 24 by 30 inch rubber mud flaps, the same style that you would find on the back of a semi truck, and I purchased these at a local auto parts store. You're also going to need 6 5/16 18 bolts, washers, and lock nuts. You're also going to need 1/4 20 by 1 inch bolts and lock nuts, 10 fender washers, also a 7/16 2 inch by 3 inch U-bolt with nuts and washers. You're also going to need a 1/2 inch wrench, a 1/2 inch socket, and a ratchet. To tie it all together, you're also going to need a 2 inch receiver adapter, and you're also going to need primer and paint of your choice to finish it all up to keep rust down. So what I did is I took the 48 inch piece of angle iron and I split it into 2 24 inch parts. I decided on the 7/16 U-bolt because I wanted a little extra strength, and it was the only one I could buy for this project. Now, a 3/8 U-bolt will probably do the job, but a 7/16 is just a little thicker and gives you a little bit more strength, because you have to remember you're going to have a lot of wind and road debris that will go against these rubber flaps, and having a little extra strength goes better in the long run. So to begin, find the center of the 36 inch piece of angle iron and mark it with a Sharpie. Next, you'll want to take your U-bolt and find the center on that. You'll also want to pair it up with the center of this receiver adapter to see exactly how that bolt will fit in. I had to elongate the holes a little bit just so that would work. So when the finished product goes together, I know that it'll be nice and tight. Now, I used a drill press to drill these holes in, but you could use a standard drill. You just have to be really careful that it doesn't walk off into the holes that are already drilled into this. Now, you could buy a solid piece of angle iron to do this job, but you would end up having to drill several holes into the angle iron to complete the project. Now, because this angle iron comes pre-drilled with 3/8 inch holes, and I have a 7/16 shackle bolt, I'm going to have to drill out some of the holes, and they're not quite spaced right to fit this. I suppose this would have been better if it had been solid angle iron, but the beauty of having the pre-drilled holes is anytime that you need to make your mud flaps a little wider or closer in, you have the ability to adjust it simply by unbolting it, sliding the angle iron either direction, and rebolting it in place. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility than, say, some of the other pre-drilled, pre-assembled kits. And for the savings, I think this is worth a little bit of the work to get it done. Okay, here we are back. It's been a couple of days since I started this, and I just need to show you what to do to complete this job. Now, I did go and paint these, a couple coats of primer, a couple coats of black paint, and well, I'm going to go ahead and show you some other things here. Let me move the camera here. Now, some other tools that I didn't mention that you needed to complete this job. is a hole punch set. Now I bought these over at one of our local stores, about $10 for this hollow punch set. Now when I laid out this angle iron, lined it up to this edge, and then I marked on the rubber every fourth hole. So I have, as you can see, marks at every fourth hole. Now these are where I'm going to be punching my holes for my nuts and bolts. What you're going to need for this is a 5/16 hole punch for the larger bolts and a 1/4 inch for the smaller bolts. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a moment. Now when you're doing a job like this, you got to make sure you're doing it safely. So make sure you get a nice pair of safety glasses before you start pounding the punch through the rubber. Now always have a wooden block to punch into, because it gives it a little bit of rigidity and something to pound into. Now I tried doing this on the bed of my truck, but the bed was giving, so I wasn't able to do that effectively. So you just take the 1/4 inch punch, line it up on your hole, take a nice big ball peen hammer, and that's all you do. Boom. Now that didn't punch all the way through, did it? There you go. And that's all you have to do. And the dog you're hearing in the background is my wife's service dog. She likes to whine a lot. And don't worry about this punch clogging. The way it's made, the rubber will just come right out of that little slot and you're all done. You just keep punching your holes. Now when you get down to the end, where your two pieces of angle iron are going to come together, and the 5/16 bolts, you just keep going with your block of wood, rearrange the rubber. Now like I was saying, when you get down to this end where you're going to be putting your 5/16 bolts in, you're going to need to switch to the 5/16 punch. You could go ahead and put a 5/16 holes all in this, but I decided to go with 1/4 inch because that's the size bolt that I'm using. There you have it. All your holes are punched. Okay, now we're ready to do the final installation. I've got all my nuts and bolts and washers out here. A 1/2 inch and a 7/16 socket, 1/2 inch and 7/16 wrench. And for ease of doing the job, I'm going to use my cordless drill. Now if you don't have a cordless drill, obviously you can use a ratchet. So start out by placing the piece of angle iron. I don't think I have that quite right. Yeah, right here. I'm losing my mind. Okay, start with your 1 1/4 washer on the back side. Push it up through the hole. This may take a little doing because this is kind of thick rubber. Just push it on up. Set that in place. 1 inch washer and the nut. And you can continue that until you have all your nuts and bolts in, except for the final ones where your 5/16 bolts are going to go together, and I'll show you why. Now I've already completed the other side just to make sure that everything was going to work the way I wanted it to work. So you put this up here. And get it lined up to where it's supposed to be. I'm struggling with it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I knew it. I did it wrong. Well, you know how it is. Sometimes you get a little messed up. This is the correct way to do it. Don't lead by example. I was wondering why none of my holes were lining up. Okay. Now, as I said before, I went with the pre-drilled angle iron because after I got this set up the first time, I noticed that it wasn't really hanging on the truck the way I wanted it to. And that's the beauty of doing it this way. You can adjust it. All you have to do is slide it out one hole or in one hole, depending on how you want it, how wide your truck is or how wide you want the mud flap to hang. Now, you notice there's a big gap between the two, and that was done on purpose as well to allow me to have room to get in there and put the hitch pin in and other things as I need to. So this one here is going to be a little tighter, so I'm going to put it in the drill and use the drill and the threads on the bolt to drive itself in. And that's not working either. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, and then drop the washer on there. Put the nut back on. Alright. Yeah, I had to get the one stubborn. Okay. So to just give you kind of a picture of how this is going to look on the back of the truck. Okay, now that I've got all my bolts and nuts and washers and everything in place, I'm going to go ahead and tighten them up. With the quarter 20 bolts, you need a 7/16 wrench and a socket. And all I do is just put it on here, drive it home. Now the reason why I decided to use the drill. As you can tell, it's a little faster. Now, do the 5/16 bolts, switch sockets, 1/2 inch wrench, 1/2 inch socket, do the same thing. I did make a mistake here. I missed the washer. Couldn't find it. Couldn't figure out where it went. There it is, right there. Okay. And it would have to be on the stubborn one. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to set everything inside here. So I can close my tailgate. And of course, being a retired sailor, I'm going to take my United States Navy cap protector out of there. I'd be ashamed to roll down the road without that in there, but I think I'll do it. So, test fit it. Let me give you a look at what that looks like from the back. So this is basically how it'll be. Now, like I said, you can adjust it from side to side if you need to, if it's not coming out far enough. Now, obviously, you don't want them dragging the ground, and so I'm going to have to trim off a couple of inches of that rubber. When I measured the truck with the trailer on, I had 19 and a half inches from the top of the hitch to the ground. So I'm going to have to cut those off about 4 inches, just to give me a little bit of clearance. But that should protect my camper from things like, I don't know if you can see them, but these little dents and dings, those are from rocks coming up off the road. And so that's how you do it. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint my nuts and bolts, because you know that's what I want to do. I couldn't find affordable stainless steel nuts and bolts, but you know, I went with the zinc, so I'll have to paint them. So if you like this video, go ahead and click the like button and go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I'll have more videos like this coming. If you don't like it, certainly leave a comment. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, and have a good day.